Okay, got it. Thank you. All right. Okay. Well, it's 2:04. Lisa, I don't, do we want to start or?
I like to start on time. It's filling up. It's nice. It's your show. You got to do what's
Okay.
best for you.
Okay, great. Well, let's get started. So let me share my screen. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming out. I want to start off by, can you all hear me fine? Okay. I want to just start off by thanking the Painting Center. It's just a wonderful space to show in. I'm very happy with how it all came out and the look of the show and everything. The space really is terrific. And if you haven't been to the Painting Center, you need to stop in and see it. I also want to thank Lisa Mintz, who's moderating the talk today, and Shazi Thomas and Lucy, the intern, for making this all happen and being behind the scenes. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about my history, and then because it's significant, and I want to talk about 2 questions I asked myself this year. And then I'm going to talk about 3 of my paintings, and then we'll open it up for questions. So while I'm talking about my history, I'll show you a little bit of the installation shots. And so I went to SUNY Purchase, and while there, I took a lot of classes in drawing, printmaking, and design. After leaving there, I started painting abstract paintings, and I painted abstract paintings for several years, and then I applied to grad school with an abstract painting portfolio, and I ended up going to the University of Pennsylvania. And the first day I was there, the chairman of the program, Neil Welliver, a lot of you probably know who he is, a landscape painter, came into my studio, and he took a look around. He says, okay, I want you to paint 2 paintings a day from life, and I'll be back, and just paint anything you see in front of you. So I did that, and I had about 40 paintings on the wall when he came back, and it really was a changing experience for me. It really changed the whole way I looked at painting and how I approach painting, and I never went back to painting abstractly. Show you another scene here. But the reason why I bring this up is because I think that my painting has a lot of abstract undertones in it. And I know that people say all painting is abstract, but I think my painting has a little bit more of that because I'm conscious of it, and I really love abstract painting and realist painting. So I try to kind of bring those 2 worlds together in my work. So this past year and a half, I worked on these paintings that you'll see in the show. And I asked myself 2 questions. So we'll take a look at this painting first. This is called The Valley, why I talk about what one of the questions was. And one of the questions I asked myself was, what's the process that brings me joy? I never really asked myself that question, like what gets me, up every day in front of my easel and, battling the painting every single time and wanting to do this over and over and over again. And so there must be something about the process that I'm getting out of it, some kind of joy, because if it was just the end product, I wouldn't be doing it. So the things I came up with was looking and seeing brings me a lot of joy, which is what Neil Welliver kind of taught me with doing these paintings from life, really looking out in what's in front of you in that world and discovering things. And that discovery is very exciting to me. I enjoy orchestrating, bringing things together, color, composition, craft. And what I mean by craft, I mean just dedicating yourself to making whatever you do better. Whatever it is you choose to do, just trying harder to working at making it better. I enjoy drawing and the structure of things. I love measuring the relationship between elements in the painting and fine-tuning, moving, adding, and deleting. And still life is a genre that gives me the opportunity to enjoy this process. All the things I love to do when I paint, still life gives me that opportunity. And it also gives me a secure, stable environment where I can be in this quiet world by myself and really kind of let myself explore and look at the things that I don't understand and spend that time looking at them and trying to decipher what it is that's in front of me. And also, orchestrating color, being able to bring objects together and composition and drawing and measuring and all of that. And these paintings go through a lot of changes. I mean, they might not look that way when you see them, but objects come and go and move and get repainted lots of times. And all of that process of adding and moving creates a richness to the painting, which is another thing that I really love. I love a lot of paintings where artists spend a long time on them. So that gets me to the second question. And I have to start by saying that I'm an art junkie. And what I mean by that is that I look at art all the time. I have an extensive art book collection, which is very dear to my heart. I go to galleries and museums all the time, listen to podcasts, go on Instagram, surf the web, all of those things. And it gives me great joy and enriches my life. Really adds a lot to my world. So the second question I asked myself, which is what this show is pretty much based on, is why do I connect with this painting or with this artist? What is it that I'm making a connection with? And then seeing if I can take what it is that I discover from asking that question and pull out a few elements and then recreate, create my own painting, my own world, the way that I would do it by using some of those things that I learned from other artists. So I'm going to show you a couple of paintings and painters and kind of explain what it is that I'm talking about. So the first two painters I want to show you is Wayne Thiebaud and Richard Diebenkorn. Both of these paintings were done, the one on the left was 1978 and the one on the right is 1975, about the same time. Wayne Thiebaud, I love his San Francisco paintings. Probably most of you who are painters out there know him for his pastry paintings. So I really love this painting, is very drawn to it. So I was asking me that question, what is it that I'm connecting with this? And I think what it is that play between flatness and space. So if you look at the two roads that are going straight up in the painting, they feel very flat. They feel like they're close to the picture pane and plane. but he hints at space. So if you look at the cars on the street, you'll notice that the cars that are farther down in the painting are larger than the ones that are up higher. So he's telling you, look, these cars in the back go farther back than the ones that are in the front, but he's made the road feel very flat. He does the same thing with this building here on the right. And you see these windows here on this pink building. This building feels very large and it feels very close to you. But then when you look at this here, which is kind of repeating this here with the lines and the color of it, it's much smaller. So you get this feeling of depth of going into the painting. And he also emphasizes that by the lines that he has on this building here. So when you look at this very quickly, you think it's really flat and flat shapes, but then you can he hints at this space that's happening here. He also plays with atmospheric perspective in this painting. And what that is, landscape painters out there probably are familiar with it, but if you're not, what that is that when you look at objects that are farther away, mostly in a landscape, they tend to get, the color is less saturated. They tend to get a little blue hue to it if it's during the day. The edges become softer. The the detail becomes little less detail. And so he kind of is doing that with this building all the way up here. So I feel like this building is going way back in space beyond that horizon line here. And the other thing I love about this painting is where he puts the horizon line. I mean, it's just so bold and so it's kind of humorous in a little way, in kind of a way. So I just love all of that about this particular painting. The one on the right is Richard Diebenkorn. I love his work. A lot of painters love his work, but I particularly like his Ocean Park series, which is his abstract series that he did. And again, he's taking this square of color right here, and he has it coming forward. I feel like that's right on the picture plane. And then all of the activity has been pushed up to the top and down to the left side. And I feel like I'm waffling like in and out of that space, all around this space here, all the way down here. And I also feel that he also has pushed the horizon line up high in this painting. The palette is just beautiful to me. I just love this combination of colors. I'm still trying to figure out why that is. Same question, but I haven't answered it for myself. And the thing that really surprises me is this little line of red right here. And when I cover my finger on that red, this painting kind of doesn't have pizzazz to me. It loses something. It's that little bit of activity that happens with this subtle piece of red that he's got there. But at the same time, he's able to take that red line and keep it in that space. It's not overpowering anything else that's in the painting, but it's there and it's subtle and it's so important. So I took all of that things that I observed from these two paintings, and I thought, well, can I create a painting the way I would do a painting? And this is the painting I ended up doing. And, you know, one of the difficult thing is that as a painter, you know, you're always trying to like have influences at the same time not have influences, and you can't stop not having influences because, you know, they're there all around you in the world, but, you know, you have to kind of do that to a certain degree to get to your personal honest paintings. I call them honest paintings, but they're the paintings that, you know, are true to your heart, the ones that you really should be painting. And that's a difficult task. And it's even more difficult when I'm doing this process where I'm consciously looking at other artists and trying to pull things from them. So this is the painting I did from observing those two paintings. So as you can see, I really did love Diebenkorn's palette. I have kind of pulled his palette out a bit from that painting. I wanted this section here to be a very shallow space, flat, to be closer to the picture plane. I did a high horizon line. I did atmospheric perspective where this horizon line becomes very soft so that you would go back into the space. I also played with size. This particular bottle was a lot larger and I repainted it smaller because I wanted this distance to feel, I want to feel more distance in this space. And I also downsized this object a little bit because I wanted this object here to come a little bit farther forward than this one in the space. And then I put my zinger in, which was this red ribbon. And I wanted your eye to come up the red ribbon and then back into the space and go out to this atmosphere back in here. So you read that space and then come down into the ribbon. But at the same time, having the ribbon being really important to be there, but not have it completely steal the show. And that took a lot of trial and error. And a lot of it had to do with not this part of the ribbon, but actually this part of the ribbon in order to get it to work. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next two paintings that I want to show you. Okay, we have Gottlieb and we have Antonio Lopez Garcia. All right, so the painting on the left, I saw at the Albright Knox in Buffalo when I was in undergrad. And I really liked it, and I couldn't figure out why that was. And I had an opportunity a couple of months ago to go back to the Albright Knox, which has now been, by the way, renovated and expanded. Highly recommend taking a trip to see it. If you're going to Niagara Falls, it's really close to Niagara Falls. Anyway, it was a joy to visit that museum, and I saw this painting again. And so I asked the question, why am I connecting with this? What is it about this painting that draws me in? And there's a few things. One is that this black dot here. I like stability, which is another reason why I still like painting. Those bottles give me something to hold on to when all the craziness is going on around me. So this is kind of stable for me. And then it enables me to enjoy this crazy brushstroke in the painting. I also like repetition in compositions, and you'll see that a lot in my work. I won't be talking about that today, but I like the fact that he repeated the circle again, so that it happens again, and that repetition is very exciting to me. But the thing that I really love about this painting, and I remember the sensation when I first was standing in front of it, and then when I saw it again a couple of months ago, was that it's a very large painting, and it feels like it expands forever. Like there's no edge to the painting. There's nothing on the four edges that's keeping you in. And it just feels like that background of the canvas is just going on beyond your vision. And I just really like that about that painting. On the right, we have Antonio Lopez Garcia. He is probably on the top 5 list of my favorite painters. His craft is incredible. The way he can make a dirty bathroom look beautiful is pretty hard to comprehend. But the interesting thing about this painting for me is the space, because he has you looking down at the floor, down at the sink, and then kind of straight ahead at this mirror here. So even though it's a very still painting, there's this activity going on with your eye of looking down and moving away and coming up the painting. And that's just a real pleasure to have that subtle activity happening in that stillness of that bathroom. And of course, just because of the craft element, how wonderful of a painter he is, the painting of this is just gorgeous. And there's a lot of very interesting things going on with composition in here. That's a little bit nitty gritty, but I really enjoy this painting a lot. And it's at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, and I'm hoping to go see it sometime soon. So out of these 2 paintings, this is the painting I ended up doing. This is called Cuddle and Dream. And this actually started from a dream. It's the first time I've ever done a painting from a dream. And I had this dream that I was in this really dark place, and there was this heavy upholstery fabric that was wrapped around me. And when I was peeking out, there was debris just flying all over the place. And it looked like I was in outer space, and the space went on forever. So I immediately thought of Gottlieb, and I thought, okay, I want to put something stable and round in the center. And I have this black bowl, and I knew immediately I wanted to paint this black bowl because it's one of the few black items I have that really has a really deep black to it when you're trying to paint it. Like there isn't really gray. It's really a super, super dark, intense black. And a lot of these objects that I paint, I paint them over and over again, so I get to know them, so that when I'm putting these still lifes together, when I want to have something happen, I know which object to kind of pick and put into the painting. And then I found this upholstery fabric that my mother-in-law actually gave me, and I put that around the bowl. And then I put in all these ribbons to kind of get that feeling of, activity, things happening. So like the Gottlieb, it's like, okay, we got the stable circle that enables me to experience all these lines of ribbons that are flying around me. And I also wanted to feel like the edges went on forever in this painting. So a lot of my still life paintings, I'll have verticals or horizontals towards the edges of the painting to kind of hold the viewer in. And in this particular one, I didn't want that. I wanted you to feel like it kind of would extend it beyond the four edges. And in order to do that, I took the orange tissue paper and put it on the table and also on the back wall. So it became more like a flat, continuous background with no really solid horizon line. It's somewhere, horizon line somewhere down here. So I was thinking about that. I also was thinking about Antonio Lopez Garcia, where I set this particular still life up on a low table so that you would look at inside the bowl first and then work your way up and see the background. So your eye would move from down here up into the background on this particular painting. Okay, so I'm gonna do one more. Okay, we have here Mark Rothko and we have Chardin. Chardin. And the Rothko, I saw a show of his, a retrospective of his at the Guggenheim when I think I was in grad school, or maybe it was between undergrad and grad school. And by the time I got to the bottom of the spiral, I felt like I had a spiritual awakening, and I didn't know what it was, but his paintings just touched me in a way that I hadn't experienced really. And I've kind of put that on the back burner, but I never forgot that show. It's one of the few shows that you know is just embedded in my head. And okay, and then the one on the left, the one on the right, I mean, is he's a wonderful still life painter. I love his work. And the thing about these two paintings is that the one on the thing I think I like about Mark Rothko, which is what I've recently kind of discovered, is that I feel color, like it goes from my eyesight into my body. And when I look at his paintings, I have different feelings from different paintings of his, and I also feel the relationships of color. And I also enjoy the fact that the light comes from like within his color. Like he does these color combinations where you can just feel the light coming in through the areas of color. Let's look right here. It's just quite beautiful. And with the painting on the right, the same thing is happening, but it's done in a different way. It's like the light is being brought out from the darkness of the background, and it's done more with value than with color, and a lot of glazing and layers on top of layers. And I love both of those approaches. I'm kind of very torn, and I always kind of feel like I want to kind of have both of them in my painting. So from those two, I did this painting, which is called Seesaw. So a couple things. I wanted to take the black background of the painting I showed you that was on the right earlier, and I wanted to put that up forward in the front. And I wanted to take a color where the light was coming in from the color and put that on the top, like switch it up. But the main thing was I wanted you to see fields of color first when you looked at the painting. So you see, you know, this green here, then you see this middle area with a gray, bluish gray color, and then you see this black area here. So you read that first. So immediately, you know, when you see the painting, I want you to say, oh, look at those beautiful fields of color. Then I wanted to put the objects in because I wanted you to feel that, yes, there is space here. It's not all flat. To play with that idea of flatness and space kind of coexisting if possible in the same painting. So in order to do that, I needed to make the objects small. And so I picked the smallest objects I could find. I also took my easel and I moved it back a few feet so that I could even paint them smaller, because I have to paint objects the size that I see them. And then, and also to emphasize the fact that this is not a flat painting, I put this ribbon in, and the ribbon takes you from the background, across the middle ground, around, and then right to the front of the picture plane. And it's seesaw because it's kind of fluctuating between, I wanted to fluctuate between those flat areas of color, but also saying, hey, there's a tabletop here, there is space in here happening at the same time. So that's pretty much my quick talk. And I just want to mention a couple things before we go to questions. I'm having a Meet the Artist on Saturday, the 28th. I'll be at the gallery from 3 to 5. So if anybody wants to come by and has any question about any of my additional paintings I have in the show, please stop in. You can also reach me or see more of my work at my website, on Instagram, Marie_Riccio, my email address. And of course, you can always find me at the Painting Center. So that's it. And Lisa, I think I will unshare my screen. And okay, stop share. There we go. And we're back.
Okay, great
That was a lot.
great presentation. I want to thank you for sharing your story. And I really want to thank, it's beautiful to see so many people. I don't actually see you, I see your names, but it's nice to see so many people enjoyed it or came. Just the fact that they came, thank you. I have a question. And I was wondering, does the accident play a role in your work at all? Because you seem to set up these problems. And for me, the accident is like the excitement. I just wonder if do you ever allow yourself to have accidents, or how do you respond to them?
That's interesting. The accidents usually happen early on, because when I'm setting up a still life, it usually is happening like in the setup stage where I'm putting things together. I'll start like laying things on the table and moving them around, and then I turn around, I'm like, oh, that looks good like that. You know, it wasn't, I didn't really think it through, wasn't completely planning it. And then I will, you know, maybe add a few things to it. But that's not as much. I mean, I do a lot of changing, you know, and I think that it evolves, and then, you know, I will maybe lay something on the table in front of it because it's not working and I'm not too sure, and then I'll just say, okay, that's it, let's just go with that. So it doesn't play, I would not say it plays a huge role except in the beginning. Yeah, I'm into planning.
Yeah, I could, yeah, it's just an interesting way to work, very different. I'd never heard the term spatial illusion before, and the atmospheric illusion, and I just wondered, I find that fascinating. How did you discover that term? Were you taught that?
Well, I was a plein air painter for many, many years, and have hung out with a lot of landscape painters. I still continue to paint the landscape. I go out once a week and do that. And I don't know if I don't know consciously when I knew about it. I guess it's just talking with other artists and hearing what they have to say about it, and also just you know, maybe I read it somewhere in a blog or whatever, but you know, going out there and have the experience of painting the landscape, I kind of had that experience of atmospheric perspective probably before I even really knew there was a name for it, just from observing. So
what is next for you? Is it going to be more still lives? Is it going to, what's the next direction, or what do you see yourself painting next?
Well, I like to work in series because I feel like I can explore them and learn more for them when I'm doing a series. So I think I'm kind of thinking my next series is going to be a lot more about color. As you can tell, I didn't talk much about color in my work. It's a huge part of my work. And I've had a set palette for many, many years that I've used. I mean, I add things here and there, but I think I'm gonna like really change it up and really push myself to try mixing colors, starting with different colors than what I'm used to. Because when I do a painting, you know, I see something and I see the color and I know immediately how to mix it up because I know my palette. I know how to put it together to get that. But what if those colors weren't on my palette and it was a different set of colors? And then maybe keeping something consistent, like maybe having certain objects that I have repeated within the paintings and then just changing the color. I don't know, but that's kind of what's been in the back of my head. I started a new painting last week that kind of had that idea. So we'll see.
What about scale? Because I know that you work moderately small. Do you ever think of going like big and large and see what happens?
Yeah, I know. We're so different with all that. It's uh you know, I used to paint bigger and I keep going smaller. There's something about I really like painting a painting where I can see the whole painting while I'm painting it. And as you start to get bigger, I mean, I do walk back, but walking back for me is like 4 feet, you know, but you do something larger, you got to really walk back. And my studio has a very low ceiling and it's not that big in the area that I paint. I would have to figure something out, but um, I fluctuate back and forth. I mean, I really haven't done anything larger than 30 by 30 in years. And also it takes a really long time for me to paint these paintings. So for me to do a large painting, it's probably months of a commitment, which I'm fine with, but you know, the smaller ones I can do in a month. So but I'm thinking about it. I mean, I actually looked at the stretchers I had in my studio last week thinking, maybe it's time to do something a little bigger, but we'll see. I don't know. But I like the small intimacy of the small paintings.
You have a question in the chat.
Uh-huh.
Do you want me to read it to you?
Sure.
This is from Mary Caputi. I hope I said that correctly. Mary, do you want to read your question? Unmute yourself. I don't know. Okay.
No, I think that Shazi has to unmute. I think she's in control of oh, maybe she can unmute herself. I'm not too sure.
Okay. She would like to hear more about the space at the upper right of Cuddled in a Dream. My eye was drawn to the area of the painting. Is the ribbon behind the orange tissue paper? You made an interesting effect there. Also, please talk about the intriguing blue space at the upper right. Thank you. And she said, maybe you want to can you re-show us that painting so you could talk about it at the same time? Refresh our memory, or I don't know.
Sure. Let me see if I can get there.
Okay. Yeah, go back.
Oh, wait. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I think she means up here. This is actually this was a piece of white paper that was behind the orange tissue paper. So in this area, it seemed to be more of a pink color. And this was the wall behind. There's another piece of white paper here, and this is the wall, and this is the shadow from the tissue paper. And I mean, this is here for a couple of reasons. One is that compositionally, even though I wanted you to stay, you know, I wanted you to kind of expand beyond the four walls here. I felt like you were just really, your eye was going up here and falling off on this edge. So I felt like I needed to bring in a diagonal to bring you back into the space where this activity was happening. And the other thing was that in this particular painting, I used phthalo blue, and phthalo is a synthetic color. And I very rarely use phthalos because I feel like they take over the painting when I use these synthetic colors, and very hard for me to control. But I felt like I needed to use phthalo in order to hold up against this orange that was going to be really intense. There's a lot of phthalo blue in here. So I felt in order for the painting to come together, I needed to kind of repeat that blue again that's in this cloth somewhere else in the painting so it would hold together as one painting. So I kind of put it back up into this corner here to compositionally kind of with color, because you can orchestrate composition, you know, through line and through color, through shape and through space. And this one, I was doing it with color and with the line coming into the painting here. I hope that answered it. So.
And Michelle also had an interesting comment, and I found this fast. Michelle, do you want to read yours or you want to read your comment?
Okay,
Thank
can you
you.
hear me? Yeah. Oh, no, I just thought it was so interesting seeing your two painting influences and then seeing the painting that was inspired by that. That's just such an interesting way to work, for one thing, and also for us to get to know about your process.
Oh, thank you. It's actually the first time I've done this. So series that I do usually are much more based on color or materials or objects and that kind of thing. So this was very different. And it actually came out of, I hate to mention this again, because we're all sick and tired of COVID, but it came out of that COVID experience of being locked up in my studio with just my art books. And that's all I had to look at, and just started asking myself, you know, these questions of why there were certain paintings that I just keep going back to them. So, but thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I also wonder, because I always want to push the envelope, and I don't mean to put you on the spot. I like to play devil's advocate. What if? That's how I kind of make my paintings. What if I did this? What if I did that? I just wonder, what if you change the objects and just randomly place them and just see what happens with random instead of controlled? I don't know. I know that's not the way you work, but like, aren't you just curious a little, or no?
No, I am actually. You know, there's another painting that I didn't show you, which was influenced by Degas. And you know, in his compositions, one of the things I noticed was that he always had an empty space in the middle. So, and I tend to always have my objects kind of grouped more in the middle, kind of more like Morandi ish. And I thought, so I did this one painting where the objects are kind of, I can show it to you, I guess, real quick. Let's see if I can find it here. Okay, see, it was Degas with the empty space. And I did this painting, and there's this empty space in the middle. And that was me kind of being a little crazy, you know, as crazy as I get sometimes, and saying, okay, let's just stick them out on this. And I did kind of like just plop them down on the table and didn't spend much time arranging them. So that's me being really adventuresome. But no, I hear you, Lisa. I those thoughts have been in my head too. And I also was thinking, when we were talking about painting large, of doing something where I could have those color fields be really large so that you feel them, and have the still life objects be a little bit like accents within the field. That was something I was thinking of also. So we'll see.
I think your compositions are really smart and sharp, and really direct the eye through the picture plane. I think that's definitely strong suit of your work, which comes through. You know, and you don't have to work big. You could work super small. For just me as an artist, I'm always changing the parameters, maybe too much. You create a beautiful, consistent body of work, and that's just the way you paint, and that's okay too.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
composition is really important to me, and I spend a lot of time looking at my work as I'm working on it and seeing how you enter the painting, how you move around the painting, how you leave the painting, that's all really important to me. And I love composition. And Lisa, I think I mentioned this to you before when we talked before this, was that for years I worked as a magazine designer, and it was a great profession for me because basically I'm just spending all day long doing compositions. So I was in heaven, you know. So, but I love all that. I love directing the eye. It's kind of like they're more, you know, there's kind of two ways of I think approaching a still life. One is kind of maybe more what you're talking about, where I know painters who just come across something haphazardly in their studio and they paint that, you know. And for me, it's more like the tabletop is a stage, and I'm bringing all the characters in, I'm making the story, I'm telling you what's happening, you know, I'm directing the whole thing, and I enjoy that process. You know, I also worked as a window dresser for Macy's and did that for a couple of years, and I loved it. It was like it was just kind of creating these scenarios, and that's a big part of how I get joy from the painting. It really starts from the composing of the objects. So
Okay, I have something from Joan Mellon. Would Joan like to read her?
Sure.
Okay,
Especially since the typing got weird. Okay.
okay.
Thank you for your presentation, and there's a lot to learn and think about. But I'm interested in seeing that you use the square as a format and how that affects your interest in creating space that feels infinite, because I think of a square as more controlled rather than infinite.
Well, most of my paintings are controlled in that space. That particular one, colored in orange, was an exception. And the reason why I paint on a square is because I want my paintings to feel more contemporary. That goes back to being an abstract painter. And the square feels more like contemporary painting to me. And I find it actually a lot easier to compose on a square. And when I try using rectangles or the golden, what is it? The golden, what's that measurement? I'm drawing a blank. My paintings feel too traditional for me, you know? And I'm never happy with them. Not that I haven't done that, but I think, you know, when I was thinking about doing a larger painting, I'm thinking the larger painting would need to be more like a vertical rectangle, not a square. But it's more just because I feel it's easier for me to compose on a square and to have my paintings feel more contemporary and abstract.
Thank you.
Mary, your question was answered by Ron. She used to work for Government Executive magazine, if I recall. She was curious about what magazines.
That's one of them.
Okay.
I worked for a lot, but yes. Yeah.
Any other questions? We have a few minutes left. Anyone else want to share anything? It's more exciting when people besides me talk. So if you have anything, please speak.
Well, I could tell you a little bit about one more piece here that I can share. If some other question comes up, let me know. Where is it? This particular painting actually was influenced by Hans Hofmann. And I love Hans Hofmann paintings. And this is going back to abstract painting again, and how he has this chaotic kind of brushstroke going on in the backgrounds. And then he has these spaces that you can stop and rest at, and how these boxes of color are kind of moving forward and backwards. Doing a very quick overall overview of this painting. And then this is what I did, which was, you know, putting in these rectangles of resting space in the painting, along with this really bright blue in the bottom, which is really important to the composition. And then creating that chaos by using circles. The circle of this pot, the circle of the bottom of the pot, the circle of the cloth, the circle is repeated back here in the tissue paper, the pipe cleaners, and then the ribbon comes up and circles around and goes up. And I use when I'm orchestrating these compositions, there's a bunch of things that I like to use to emphasize what it is that I'm thinking about when I'm composing these paintings. And one of them is ribbons. I love, you'll see ribbons a lot in my work. This particular series doesn't have as many, but some of my past series, you'll see a lot of ribbons, and they are compositional elements for me to help you lead the viewer through the painting. They're a great drawing problem. They're also a great way to add in some punch of color, which I love. I also use sticks and marbles to help out with balancing my compositions out. And just recently, while cleaning out my kids' craft closet, I found a bag of pipe cleaners, and I was like, wow, color lines that I can manipulate and change and make into other things. And so these pipe cleaners are starting to show up in the paintings also. So okay.
Well, I think we should wind it down now. I just want to thank Marie for enlightening her about our practice, Shazi for showing up on a Saturday, and all that participated. We are so thankful. Please come out. Our next show is Alex Bailey. She had a beautiful review by John Yao. It opens November 2nd. The Vice President of the Painting Center. If you have any questions, you can find me on Instagram. Reach out. It's under Petker Mintz. And I'm happy to answer anything you need to know. And it was really interesting to get to know Marie's work and her process. I love the fact that she's orchestrating it and it's a stage. Quite beautiful way of creating a painting. So thank you for that.
Okay. Well, thank you, Lisa, again for doing this in the Painting Center. It's been a lot of fun. So. Okay. Well, have a good rest of your day, everyone, and thanks again for coming out.
Thank you.